Hey, welcome back to the channel. My name is Chima, and today we'll be solving Leetcode 128, longest consecutive sequence. Alright, so let's get to it. For this question, we're given an unsorted array of integer nums, and our goal is to return the length of the longest consecutive elements in sequence. And we must write an algorithm that runs in O of n time. So looking at the first example here, we have an output of 4 because the longest consecutive sequence that we can form from the set of numbers is 1, 2, 3, and 4. As it explains here. Looking at example 2, the longest consecutive sequence we can form is of length 9, and that comes from forming a sequence starting from 0, going all the way up to 8. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, thus length 9. So this question is pretty intuitive if you just think about it straightforwardly in terms of how you can think of a sequence. So we know that a sequence is a chain of numbers which are consecutively one after each other. So when we think of it in that regards, this problem becomes quite simple in terms of the logic. Now for implementation, there is one thing that we want to consider, is that our sequence can have potential duplicates. Like when we look at the second example here, we see that 0 appears twice, but the length is still 9. That means that if we do have duplicates in our array, or in our input, we don't want to count duplicates as being part of the sequence. So we basically want to remove all the duplicates from our input before we start processing it. So for this example, or for this problem, we want to first convert our input into a set and apply the logic as to how we'd chain or string together a consecutive numbers, and that will be our algorithm basically. So let's get to it. So we create a num set to represent the set of our numbers, and we need a variable to keep track of our results. So we can call this variable longest sequence. Starts off as 0. So we need to go through all of our numbers, and while we go through our numbers, how do we know that we're at a start of a potential sequence is if we look at the previous number and the previous number is not in our set. That way we know that we can look at all subsequent numbers to figure out if we can actually form a sequence. So let's do that right now. So say previous number equals n minus 1 if previous number not in num sets. Then we can look forward, and we do that by doing this. So say next number equals n plus 1 and current sequence length equals 1. And I'm going to say while next number in num sets, we want to update our current sequence length by 1. Then update our next number by 1 to continue to check if subsequent numbers are in the set. And after we get out of this while loop, we basically just want to update our longest sequence variable up here to keep track of the longest sequence that we found so far. So to do that, we just need to find the maximum value that we've seen so far. Sequence equals max longest sequence and current sequence length. Make sure I didn't spell. Okay, cool. And yeah, that's about it for this question. And when we get out of this for loop, we just need to return the longest sequence, and let's run this code and see how it performs. So this passes both test cases. Let's submit it. And this runs pretty well, but we can see that it did take some time, and the reason being that I'm actually iterating through my nums array, and to be more efficient, we can iterate through our set, right? Because our set is guaranteed to have only the necessary numbers that we need to actually find the longest consecutive sequence. So let's change that and see how much faster it performs in regards to Leetcode. And now it performs much better. So let's do a quick exploration of the time and space complexity. So for this problem, we can say that the time complexity here is O of n times k, because we're iterating through our num set. But if we're at a potential sequence, or if we're at the potential start of a consecutive sequence, right, we're doing this while loop here, and this also takes up to k times. So our time complexity here will be O of n times k, because in worst case you might have a sequence of length k. Our space complexity is simply O of n, because we have a auxiliary set here to keep track of the non-duplicate numbers within our input. So that is all for this question. If you have any more queries regarding this question, don't be hesitant to leave a comment down below. I'll be quick to respond. Don't forget to hit the like, the subscribe button, and have a good day.